Awesome. Chris Wojcik, welcome to Jits and Giggles. I'm glad, I know we've been going back and forth forever, but I'm glad I ended up getting you after coming off such a freaking fantastic win. It worked out.
Yeah. It was good. It was good, especially because afterwards it was after like a terrible loss. So it's good that we get to do this after when it's a little bit
Yes.
more positive.
Yes, absolutely. So let's start with that. So, first of all, when did you join the team? How long has it been now?
So I came down in April of 23 and I did a month. And
Okay.
then I moved full time in July of 23. So it was about 2 years,
Okay.
2 years and
Very
a couple
cool.
months.
How did that come about? Were you just dropping in and you developed like a relationship and they invited you? How did the move happen?
Well, I'm from Chicago originally,
Mhm.
and so I was training in Chicago for a long time. And I started, I kind of got to that point where I was like having a hard time finding training partners. So I was training at like four different gyms a week, and I was teaching kids, and I was like traveling already all the time to train. So like I can't. The first time I came to B team was 2023. No, sorry,
Mhm.
2022. And
Mhm.
then I came once, and then I came in January of 2023, like for like 2 days, just to like I would just travel and I came and I did the thing that every jiu-jitsu tourist does in Austin, where they come in, they go to every single gym, and
Mhm.
I tried them all, and
You
I
just
just
loved it.
kind of came through, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back, but I'm gonna come back for longer. And that was that was kind of just what sparked it. It was like I just need training partners who are gonna push me.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what sparked the move. I just was like, I'm only gonna compete for a few more years. So I want to make sure that if I'm doing it, I'm doing the best that I can.
Definitely. So have you seen like from the point of moving from Chicago to there, what has it been like with your jujitsu? Like how much has it significantly improved with these new training partners?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely with B team, like B team has changed a lot since I've been there.
Mhm.
When I first came down, like Craig was still popping in every now and then, and
Right.
you know, the things were like very different. And there was like it was a little bit bigger, I think. It kind
Mhm.
of shrunk, and then faces have changed, and then it grew again, and then like there's a lot of different people coming in and out.
Yeah.
But when I first came down, it was like I learned, like in the first 6 months, I improved and I learned like so much. So I went from like not knowing really like any sort of EBI overtime strategy, not really like, because I used to, when I would wrestle with my old training partners, I would take everybody down. It was not really a problem. So it was like just going from like being more of like a hammer to a nail sometimes,
Yeah.
which was pretty humbling because I was already a black belt when I did this, but it was
Right.
good. It was good. Like all in
Yeah.
all, just like I got better. All my leg locks got so much better. Everything improved within the first year of being there for sure.
Very cool. Yeah. It sounds like you were like this big fish in this little pond, and then all of a sudden it's vice versa when you got over to B team. So
Yeah.
really awesome. So CJI. So you let me see. I wrote it down so I don't forget. So your first day one was you went against Jacob Couch, correct?
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's talk about that match. So obviously it was a draw. First question is, how long before you walked out did you actually know who your opponent was?
Not until so like the way it worked is like we were backstage, and we kind of had our order predetermined
Right.
through for all the rounds. We kind of made Nikki and Damien made some adjustments on the fly,
Yeah.
but like we kind of had it all set. So I kind of knew I was going third on the first day.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, my kind of role was to play stopper for like it was either sub or draw with the like top guys on, the
Right.
most dangerous guys on the other teams. And so like we kind of anticipated Couch would either come out second or third. Um,
Hmm.
and after, because I think I went after Nick Rod. Nick
Hmm.
Rod beat Brandon,
Yeah.
and then draw, and we were like, okay, well, they're gonna bring out Pixley to bring out Nick Rod because they don't want to waste Couch on Nick Rod. So we're
Hmm.
like, okay, so we know that probably after Pixley is going to be Couch, and then they're going to put me out, and my goal is to either just draw or sub him, which I have two losses to Couch. So like
Right.
and granted these were like in 2021 at brown belt on the
Mhm.
IBJJF circuit, so like a really long time ago, but like definitely like I wanted to kind of
Yeah.
improve that performance from last time, and I think that I did that, quite
Oh,
well.
100%. Yeah.
He had some good looks at ankle locks early, but like I'm really hard to ankle lock. Like I can't remember the
I've
last time
heard.
I've been ankle locked. I have like the bendiest. There's like some structural damage in there where like some ligaments are missing, so that's why I can't get ankle locked. Like I don't, you can't break what's not there, you know?
Yeah, I was listening to the Simple Man podcast after CJI, and I think it was Nicky Ryan who literally said that he feels like you are missing something in your leg that doesn't allow you to get ankle lock. So it's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
like I am missing because like if I do like jump squats or something, like things
Yeah,
shake, you know,
you're
like I
just
can't.
like
I'm never gonna play basketball, but like I can do jujitsu pretty good. Uh,
perfect. So for Jacob Couch, like since you have gone against him before, did you have a specific game plan?
I think that going into that one, I kind of just wanted to feel him out because like we've had two kinds of matches. So we had one match where he leg locked me pretty quick. This
Hmm.
was like before I was not known as a leg locker until like 2022, late 2023. And
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about leg locks at the time that we had our first match. And Jacob has always been a
Okay.
good leg locker. And then we
Right.
had a second match where he kind of held me in close guard for a long time. It was not like an exciting match, but it was like
Yeah.
smart for him on the decision, like to win a decision by an advantage in IBJJF or something like this. So like I was kind of just like, I wonder which match it's gonna be. Is it gonna be like the more kind of dynamic one, or am I gonna sit in close guard for a long time? And it
Right.
ended up being a little bit more interesting, I think, in the opening exchanges. Like in the other matches, the other thing too is like I also was playing more top the
Hmm.
last time that we had our two matches because it was like a points based rule set. So like
Right.
being on top was incentivized. Whereas like for quintet rules, being generally there's more submission threats from the bottom. So being on bottom was kind of more incentivized. So we played double guard pull for a couple minutes. And then in the end, I was like, okay, probably not going to leg lock this guy and he's not going to leg lock me. And I was like, okay, maybe I can win a decision if I pass him. So I was like, I'm just going to
Right.
try working passing. And I've been working on my passing a little bit. So it was kind of like after about like, I think maybe 5 minutes of not of like leg lock battles kind of
Hmm.
not really going anywhere. I was like, okay, let's try to pass. And so that's kind of
Right. Right.
what ended up
That's
there.
awesome. And you mentioned a second ago, which is interesting to me, that, your role for B team was really just stoppage, like you said. So I interpreted that as like you're not really out there trying to take risk for the submissions that could cause you to get subbed. You're just trying to not lose, essentially. Is that accurate?
I mean, so like I wouldn't say not lose, but I would say that like I have very good, most of the time submission defense. Like I don't get
Yeah.
subbed very often. I'm generally do a really good job of staying safe and not
Hmm.
getting put in bad positions. And when I do get put in bad positions, I do a good job of getting out. And
Hmm.
so like for me, it was like, okay, against like the more dangerous guys, I can, if I need to take a beating, I can take a beating, but I can also
Right.
like, you know, they're not going to pass my guard. They're not going, if they get me to turtle, they're probably not going to finish me. If they get on my
Right.
legs, which is like kind of like I'm pretty well-rounded defensively. So like
Hmm.
wherever I get put, I generally can do a good job of not getting submitted.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
and you'll see this in like in all three of the matches. Like with Kennard, it was like, okay, if he gets into a leg entanglement, I can stay out. If
Hmm.
with Mika, it was like, he did get to a front headlock on me once, but I was able to escape that. And so like just generally like all of the matches, the objective was to, yes, obviously we want to submit them, but like
Hmm.
if I can't submit them, that's okay
Right. No,
as
that
long as I
makes
can
that
get
makes sense.
their like because all of those guys who I went against they were finishers for the other team. And like I was
Right.
one of our finishers as well, but like the role that I ended up playing was more of like a stopper role.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. And it's like in jujitsu, I feel like we're so used to it being an individual sport as far as competition goes. What was it like being a part of a quintet? Like, did you feel this extra external pressure knowing that like it wasn't just a loss for you if you were to lose, it's like, partly a loss for the team.
Well, so I had the loss against Isaac at Aiga, and
Hmm.
that was like the worst. Like I lost
Yeah.
it for the team,
Right.
and there was like it was like the difference between our team winning 500,000 or like 250,000 and
Yes.
150,000, So it was like that was a bigger loss, I'd
Yeah.
say, than like whereas like quintet, there's more like that one was like dual meet format. So it was like their guy at this weight versus this guy at our guy at our weight, So it was like
Yeah.
there was more like pressure, I would say. So I
Hmm.
guess, but also too, I think having that experience, like being like, okay, I went out when the team needed me most and I failed. I was like, okay, I did that. It was not so bad. It kind of took some weight off, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. So, as far as you mentioned Lucas, you mentioned Mika, was there anybody that you were like, I hope I don't get matched up against them specifically? Was there anybody on any of the teams?
Big Dan. So he ended up not
Yeah.
competing, but I
Well,
was like, there's no way. Because Big Dan is like
that'd be
he's
hard.
huge and he's very
He is.
dangerous. Like he's good at leg locks. He finishes he smothers. I was like I had this like nightmare of getting smothered by Big Dan that I just wanted to avoid at all possible, all costs.
Just
So
woke up in a sweat.
that was one that I wanted to avoid for sure. I think I originally like I wanted a match like somebody like a Kynan or somebody like this who was
Mm.
like not really a leg locker who I could maybe
Hmm.
get under and finish. That ended up not happening. I also didn't get to go against any really big guys. I think like for me as like kind
Yeah.
of a normal size guy, you want to go against the really big guys. That's like the like I won't really make my name beating a 66 kilo guy, you know? So like
No, that
whereas
makes
like
sense.
if you sub Kynan or if you sub like I'm trying to think who the big guys for the other teams were, like a Pixley or somebody like this who's like a big guy, that can be like
Like Luke Griffith, yeah.
yeah, like a Luke Griffith. If I tap Luke Griffith, that's gonna change my life.
Yeah.
If I beat if I beat like one of the 66 guys on the other team, like I'll just say Ethan, but like he's
Yeah.
on my team, so you know, but if I would go against something like that, that could be a nice win, but it's not gonna be like change my life the way I win over a huge guy would.
Right. No, no, that makes sense to me. But I also feel like if anybody would have just gotten a submission day one, it would have been a big deal just because we weren't seeing a lot of subs on day one. Was that surprising to you?
Honestly, I was kind of not surprised with how the event went. Like I've done
Okay.
quintet rules tournaments before, and this like always happens. Like every
Right.
single time, there's a lot of draws. There's a lot of boring matches. Like there are some sick matches. I think like the quintet that they did a few years ago that was like 10th Planet, bteam, Polaris, and
Hmm.
one other team, I forget who.
Yeah.
That one was pretty sick, and I think that's not the norm in the quintets that I've done. Like if you run quintet 100 times, I think it's boring like
Yeah.
75 times.
Yeah, I will say though that 50,000 did make a difference. I don't know if it was the money or if it was just getting closer to the million, but something definitely shook things up for day two.
I think the other thing is that we just saw more mismatches on day two. So
That's a good,
like
yeah.
if you think about it, we had I'm trying to think about what the matches were in the for who did New Wave have? It was like
Um,
it was like Pato versus Luke Griffith, which is a huge mismatch because Pato's like way smaller than Luke. And then the other mismatch was a really tired Luke versus Felipe Pena.
hmm.
And then there was Giancarlo. So it was like there were more submissions,
Yeah.
but I think that we might have seen that anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking now. I actually wrote it down like a nerd. So let me see here when I was watching. Yeah, so we had we also had well, was this day one? Was never mind. Dante and Victor were day one, I believe, right? But that was I would consider that a mixed match. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when we're seeing such a big size difference, you do expect to see more subs. So I
And then
think
I
that's
think
fair.
we had Victor. He got two subs for us.
Right, right.
He had Fabricio, and then he had that kid Bilal, the Australian kid.
Hmm.
His like he seems like a really tough grappler, but he was not the same grappler on day two because his leg was fucked.
Oh, that's right. Were you guys surprised by Victor? Or was it expected?
No, I trained with Victor all summer. I know how good Victor is.
Yeah. But I mean, damn, like he really put on a
Well,
show.
and he's funny because when you train with him, you can tell that he's a very technical training partner. He's nice. Like when I would train with him, I'd be like, I can tell that you could kill me right now, but you're not, you know?
You're like, thank you so much. After day one, I assume you guys kind of huddled or had some type of conversation. What was the takeaway?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because we went into day two and we're like, okay, we're gonna put they put me first on day two.
Hmm.
And we just kind of took it one match at a time. We were saying Atos or New Way, we whatever. We didn't think about
Yeah.
that until it was time. But going
Hmm.
into the match with Australia, I was like, okay, it's either gonna they said Damien and Nikki said that it was gonna either be Kennard or Declan first, and Declan's
Hmm.
like one of my best friends at the gym, so I was like, I
Yeah.
hope it's not Declan first.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted was just not to go against Declan,
Yeah.
but I was like fully mentally prepared to fight him. So that was kind of one thing that I was thinking. Like I was sitting at home before the Airbnb before the event, like, okay, can Declan and I be cool after this match? And then it ended up being Kennard, who's like somebody who I don't really know well, but he's like a good dude who I've had matches with before. And so it was like
Yeah.
ended up not being a factor, but that was all I was thinking about going into.
Yeah. That is always awkward. It's like hard enough to go against your friends at any competition, but when a million's on the line, I can imagine that could be
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
little
Same with
bit.
Kenta, because Kenta was with us all summer as well. So
Right.
it was like all it was. I mean, there were a lot of there were two Australian guys on beat. Yeah, because then
Mhm.
it was Kennard, and I know Kennard pretty well just from like because we had a match like 5 years ago, and
Mhm.
he's come into B team before, and he's like always been around, but like it's just like I don't want to fight my homies.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So, as far as once you guys came off that win, what were your first thoughts with the controversy between you and New Wave? Was there any discussion about like, did you really win, or were you guys all pretty sure like, no, we definitely won?
So I remember we talked about the rule and we talked about the last match thing like
Hmm.
weeks before the event. So like we
Yeah.
kind of like there was not really any question that we won, like kind of what happened.
Right.
We were all like kind of surprised with how that kind of went down. I
Right.
think maybe like it was definitely like maybe not the way we thought we were going to win. The plan was to submit some of their guys.
Yeah.
But there was never like a oh, we didn't.
Doubt.
We
Yeah.
were also just like too ecstatic from the
I
experience,
imagine. Yeah.
like thinking about did we really deserve that? Those thoughts kind of like crept in later, just seeing the social media controversy and everything. But in the moment, it was like just like a movie ending. The aftermath was kind of when it was more like a little bit like what is happening, that. But the
Right.
day of, the night of was just pure joy.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I saw that video surfacing of Lachlan describing how he was also holding back, his best person for the final match because of that rule,
Hmm.
that made my wheels turn like, okay, so there must have been some type of conversation that was a part of the rules for him to also have been aligned with B team strategy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, this was, I mean, and we were thinking that they were going to hold Luke back last because he
Yeah.
had just had the really hard match with Nicky Rod
In the
and he
armbar.
had, or no, sorry, with Felipe Pena, and he'd
Mhm.
had like, we just heard he was really tired. Just,
Yeah.
so we were like, okay, this could be like a match that Nicky Rod can win, or 10-8 or whatever. And so that was kind of like our strategy was to try to pit Nicky Rod versus Luke Griffith anyway. So
Yeah.
it ended
Yeah.
up like the way because Damien like shout out to Damien because Damien was like he picked their lineup perfect.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
that was like the reason that we won is because we chose the lineup, like we got their lineup right. That was I think the main reason that we won was we nailed the matchups that we needed.
No, for sure. I was listening to Damien talk about his strategy and I was like, man, this guy would be good at Battleship. Like he knows how to like he just knows what he's doing. And that's what you need. Like for the people who are not out there or can't be out there, you need somebody who's good with strategy. And I feel like he hit the nail on the head for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge kind of like the huge part was the things that you can't really control. Like we couldn't control if they just chose a different order, but luckily they chose the
Exactly.
order they chose.
For
I think there
sure.
is like an element of luck in all quintet
Yeah.
format.
Yeah. No, definitely. Was there any reaction when, they decided at first to give the $1 million to New Wave? Did you guys kind of feel like, whatever, if it's going to keep the peace? Any thoughts?
Honestly, I was just so happy to get my money that I was like, but if they've got
Right.
enough money to like if we could give everybody 200 grand, that would be sick.
That's true.
I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not in charge of that. I don't really want to be involved in the drama of that.
Yeah.
Just
You're
kind
like,
of
as long as they're not rescinding our
so I
money,
guess we get to keep ours, then it's
I
like
don't care about
good for
anything
them. I
else
know
going
like
on.
some people are like, oh, it makes them illegitimate or whatever. It's like honestly, you know, as a like someone who's like struggled in this sport for like a decade, I'm like, anything that we can do to like get more people paid, sure, let's do it.
No, that
It'd
makes
be cool if we
perfect
like
sense.
did another match. It's like let's do another match for
Yeah.
$1 million. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you'll see them at CJI year three,
Oh,
but we'll
not a
see.
chance. Not a chance. Not a chance.
Speaking of, like your claim to fame, I mean, you've done a lot over the years, but obviously, like you said, you were not known as a leg locker, and then all of a sudden, That's kind of your claim to fame in the past few years. So let's talk about the Woj lock.
Oh yeah.
So how did that come about? I mean, I know you created it. Like, are you just somebody that's just always messing around in the gym? Like, how did it even come about?
I mean, like so I it kind of started when I was doing gi because in the gi, in 50-50, you can't do a heel hook. So you can't really do like the best attack from 50-50. And so I was
Right.
kind of just like, and I used to lose a lot of matches where I'd get put in 50-50 and I would get stalled and I would sit there for 7 minutes or whatever. Like people thought quintet was boring. You haven't watched IBJJF 50-50, you know? It's different. But I used to lose a lot of matches this way. And so I was kind of like, what if there was a way I could get to this like shit position where I can't do anything and I could like submit somebody? And so I started playing with different stuff in 50-50. And then eventually it got to the point where I was like just better at 50-50 than most people. And then we took the gi off where I didn't have to worry about lapels or anything anymore.
Right.
And it kind of just became like my best spot. And so like that was kind of, but I never like Woj lock. I did not call it that. I called it the reverse Aoki for a very
Yeah, I've
long
heard that.
time
Yep.
because that's kind of like we were like, okay, what if we did like like a ankle lock from 50-50? Okay, it doesn't really work because of this. Or what if we did a
Mm.
Aoki lock reversed and then like we're like, okay, reverse Aoki. That was I didn't invent it. I just maybe kind of like discovered it, you know.
Right.
I'm more
Right.
like I didn't invent it. I maybe made it popular, but it
That's
was
fair.
really Kieran because I came down to Austin and I was training and like when I first started in the B team room, I wasn't real like I couldn't really pass guard. I couldn't really take down the better guys. And so like during that year when I was like trying to play catch up to everybody, it was a lot of like leg locks were like my thing that I could get on everybody. So it was like I started hitting reverse Aoki on everybody. And then one day Kieran Kachuk started calling it the Woj lock because I was the only person who did it in the room.
That makes
And then
sense.
like, some YouTube thing got filmed. Sorry, some YouTube thing got filmed or something. And then kind of the rest is,
It
then I was
exploded.
like, well, maybe I can make some money off of this. And so I
Yeah.
kind of ran with it.
Hell yeah. Why do you think it was like so difficult for people to defend? Was it because it was new or is it just simply more difficult to defend?
People just thought it was fake. So
Okay.
like, it's really easy to get something that people don't think works,
Like they don't respect it and then all of a
they don't
sudden.
respect it until it's too late. And then I think I also got better with it kind of as the like now it's
Hmm.
like in competition, I probably won't get another one for a long time in competition just because like the second I get in 50-50, people just do
They
whatever they
know.
can to get the hell out of there. So it's like quite hard to get people to play in the shootout with me. But like for a long time, it was like super unexpected and not at all. Like people thought like if you did a cross Achilles, you just didn't know leg locks. Like that was not a thing that anybody
You're
hit.
like, surprise.
Yeah, it was like the one that kind of works. So that kind of is how the revolution came
I
up.
like it. Very cool. So speaking of submissions, I heard you talking, I don't know if it was on the Simple Man podcast, but you were mentioning that you used to be known for ripping submissions.
I mean, I didn't know I was ripping
Right,
submission.
right, right.
I
I
was
know. But can you talk about it? Yeah.
Well, like I think it just kind of comes from like I used to only train with hobbyists and
Hmm.
people just like didn't like I think people don't realize this, but like pros are way more controlled when they apply everything. And like I used to only
Sense.
train with like I would compete at a professional level, but I was only training with guys who did jujitsu like for fun. So like if I
Hmm.
just blasted something, it didn't matter and they would tap like right
Right.
at the like right away. Whereas like in the room, like guys want you to let things kind of go a little bit so they can kind of see if they can work out or whatever. And I just was like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna break this. And so like kind of just as I worked through, as I like kind of came down, I was like, okay, I clearly have to be more controlled here. So like this had some benefit in that it made my leg locks probably tighter because I had to hold the submission for longer.
I see.
But then it was funny because then I would like go back to Chicago and train with my friends back home, and I'd be like holding this leg lock, like not putting it on and just like staring at them, and just they weren't tapping. And I was like, I see kind of how things were before. It was like more of a
Oh.
communication error between two like training cultures.
No, I
And
totally get that. How did you like even figure out that maybe you needed to like chill out a little bit where people like, oh my God, my leg, or
I
like,
broke somebody. I
oh
like
my
a
God,
couple people kind of
oh
bad,
shit,
and I would never break anybody back at home because people would always just tap
tap.
when
Yeah.
I was putting it on. And then kind of as when I first came down, it's like, I mean, one, people don't know like that I'm good at leg locks. And they maybe don't know what an
Yeah.
Aoki lock is, or because generally like an Aoki lock, this is the one that's like kind of going to lead to injuries in the training room. Like straight ankle lock, because the other thing is like how fast the submission comes on. So like a
Right.
straight ankle lock takes a second to really get to like a day, like you feel pain before a snap, whereas like an
Yes.
Aoki lock, the pain and the snap are often like at the same time.
At the same
Same with like
time,
an
yeah.
inside heel hook.
I was just gonna say, just like a heel hook. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's so
like
true.
generally like I always because I always kind of specialized in the more dangerous leg locks because
Yeah.
it was like for me leg locks were like okay this is how I beat people who are better than me because I can just like render their leg useless. So it's like obviously I'm going to focus on this because I don't have to actually get good at jujitsu.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. That's too funny. And it's like I feel like you mentioned about the different cultures. That's very real, right? Like you can just go gym to gym and like completely different culture. How would you describe um your original culture out in Chicago versus your more current cultures?
Well, I think the big thing is like just because people trained really hard, like the culture was not unhealthy. You know, it's
Right,
like I
right.
had a very good coach, I had very good training partners. Everybody would like kind of look out for each other. It's just like when it came to like applying submissions, there was like more of like I would say the responsibility laid more on the applyee than the applier.
Hmm.
And
Okay,
then
that makes sense.
nowadays the responsibility lays more on the applier than the applyee.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. So, okay, do you think your ability to like think outside the box, like with the Wojak, like there was an issue or a problem, you found a solution. Do you think the way your brain kind of thinks to solve solutions has helped you competitively?
Yeah. I think I always looked up to Keenan back in the day. Like when I first started jujitsu, Keenan Cornelius was my favorite grappler. And I always liked
Hmm.
he just had new shit that he was doing. Like there was always like he had like the mantis guard and the worm guard and squid,
Yeah.
the Polish worm rider and all this stuff. And I always liked the idea of like just innovating and kind of adding new techniques or new like ways of thinking about the sport. And so like for me, the fact that I get to have one move named after me or that I popularized is
Pretty
already
cool.
crazy. But like for me, it's like that's like every kind of problem that I run into, it's like kind of trying to find my own solution and like
Yeah.
building a strategy or a style that works kind of for my body type and my like athleticism and my you know like mindset, you know, kind of just building a game around that is kind of what I find enjoyable.
Yeah, no, that's pretty freaking cool. I think having something named after you, not everybody gets that opportunity. So it's definitely a cool opportunity to have. So you've competed in many different places, ADCC, IBJJF. Which one of the matches that you've had do you think has taught you the most?
You generally learn more from losing than winning,
I agree.
which is unfortunate. So I think like the it's funny the Isaac match where I got
Hmm.
barred in like 20 seconds, although it was like the shortest match I've had, probably honestly the shortest match I think I've ever had that I lost.
Really?
Probably
Okay.
the fastest I ever got tapped.
Yeah.
But like I think I learned the most from that. Like it's like, okay, this forced me to reevaluate my mindset. This forced me to like completely rebuild my confidence in my jujitsu, forced me to
Hmm.
think about strategy, forced me to like learn to let a loss go. Maybe like because sometimes you just have to chalk it up to like, okay, if we have 100 matches, that's gonna happen one time, and that just happened to be the time that
Yeah.
it's on TV, you know? So like
No.
I think that match probably was the loss that taught me the most, at least recently. You know, maybe some
Yeah.
losses at like blue and purple belt that were also pretty bad, but like that was I think the one that taught me the
Yeah.
most recently.
What is it like for you when you lose? Are you the type of person that wants to like immediately watch video to be able to figure out what you did wrong? Do you need to take some time? How do you handle it?
That one I just had like a full mental breakdown. Normally I'm like a good loser. Like if I
Yeah.
like ADCC when I lost, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Trials when I lost, I'm like, all right, fine. You know, EBI, I got choked in the EBI finals in overtime, and I was like, all right, it's okay. You know, like I did just lose out at like
Yeah.
$15,000, but it's like all good. You know, normally I'm like a pretty good loser, but that one I just was not. And it made
Yeah.
it worse that like I think I got like 10 grand for the team. I was like, I did not deserve this, you know. I was like, I just felt like a fraud. And I think that sort of fueled my objective going into CJI, trying to do a better job, and it just like helped me so much, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. All right, switching gears a little bit. So, I wanted to talk about your book
Oh,
here.
hey. Thank you. Thank you for getting one.
Of course. No, I've seriously been reading it, so I'm actually excited to ask you some questions about it. First things first, when did you decide you wanted to write a book? How did it come about?
Yes, I've always been a writer. That was like my job before I did like full-time grappling, and I still like do some like ghostwriting stuff on the side.
Cool.
And I was just like, I was doing I did blog. I would started writing on Medium in 2020 when I
Hmm.
was like just graduated college, and I did the like all just kind of client work for a long time. And then I started doing little Instagram essays in 2023. It was actually like during when I first came down to Austin was when I did my first, like when I started the Grappler's Diary on Instagram.
Yeah.
And the Grappler's Diary was a thing before that because that was what I called my weekly newsletter. And so I would like just send like an article every Friday to
Oh,
people.
okay. Very
And so I would send
cool.
an article every Friday, and then I was like, okay, the problem is it's really hard to get people to read this. And so like kind of just like what I started learning about like writing business, and I was like, okay, you use social media content to get people to read the
Yeah.
newsletter, and then you build that. And I was like, okay,
Hmm.
cool. So this is what I'm gonna do. And then eventually I was like, okay, I want to write a book about like for the Grappler's Diary, like a flagship kind of like product essentially.
Yeah.
And it started as like, okay, what's the book gonna be? Originally, it was gonna be like a memoir, and then it was gonna be
Hmm.
like a training manual. And I was like, nah, that kind of like that's not me. Like I don't really want to write like a book that's like, here's how you do leg locks or whatever.
Right,
That's like
right.
not, I don't think that would be fun to read.
Yeah.
Like I read a book, I read Ryan Holiday's Daily Stoic, and then I read another book called The Book of Life, A Book of Life by Jiddu
Hmm.
Krishnamurti. And I thought both of those, I really enjoyed the format because it was like easy to read. It's kind of like lighter. You can kind of like you could do one a day or you can read a bunch at once. And so I was like, this is the format that we're gonna go with. And so I just started doing like little, I would just write the essays kind of like on my own. And then I edited them, and then I took about a year to write the first draft just because I was like doing a bunch of other stuff and moving and all this and competing and stuff. And then then I just put it off editing it for a year. It should have come out way before it did.
Hmm.
But I just put it off because it was like the idea of being an author, like having a book was too scary. So I was like, I'm just not going to do
I
this.
get that.
I put it out in January.
Very, very cool. I actually originally went to college for creative writing. So as I was reading through your book, I was like, I love the way it's almost like journal entries. It has some humor. You're like the Shel Silverstein of jujitsu. I love it. It's very,
I have not heard that one.
it's very, very cool. So the one question I had is, so it's for those who listening who don't know. So it's called A Grappler's Diary, 151 Notes on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Experience. How did you come up with 151? Intentional or no?
Well, originally I was going to do 365, and I was like, that's too many. No one's going to read that. Also, I don't think I can write that. And so I was like, I'm going to do 150. And then I was like, nah, 150 is too short. And
Okay.
then I read one book that was like 171 essays, and I was like, okay, I'll do 151 because like
Oh.
151 is like a nice, it like looks nice because it starts and ends with the same number.
Mm-hmm.
It's an odd number. I don't know. I liked that number as
Yeah.
opposed to
To
like
150.
250, like 200, 252 maybe. I don't know, but like
Okay. Okay.
I was like it had to be like 111 or 131 or 151 or something like this. It's all odd numbers.
I was gonna say it like felt right. Okay, okay. Did you have like when you decided to write the book, how many did you already have written, if any?
10.
10. Okay. So you had to
The
be like,
first, so I do a newsletter, and I did the first five as a newsletter one week.
okay.
And the like normally when I would write my newsletter, I'd get like at the time I would get like one like from my mom or something. But for whatever, and I had like 300 subscribers, and I was for whatever reason when I sent this one, it was like 7 likes, and I was like, oh, okay, that's like way more than normal. Maybe there's something to this. I was like, I'm gonna write more, and so I just did the whole thing over the course of the year. But it was like just kind of
Wow.
like getting feedback. I was like, okay, got good feed. It was like kind of like asking for permission a little bit and like using
Yeah.
feedback as permission, which maybe I wouldn't
Totally get
recommend to
it.
everybody, but that was like how it worked for me.
No, trust me, with somebody who has an Instagram page, I feel the same way. Every time I post something, I'm like waiting for the feedback. So okay, I picked one. If you're okay with it, can I read one of them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hopefully
because
it's a good one.
it's kind of relevant because I had somebody on recently and we talked about this subject. So,
Uh-huh.
number 16, I guess it is a cult. I actually want you to read it. Do you have your book with you?
I do not. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
found
it's all right. I'll read it. I'll read it. I was gonna give you an audiobook moment. Okay. So, A cult, by definition, is a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. I always thought my gym wasn't a cult because we don't exhibit the toxicity I've heard about from other gyms. But common practices in jujitsu, the whole trying to murder each other every day thing, for example, could be strange and sinister to other people. Jujitsu is culty. That is according to the dictionary. It's up to you to decide if this cult is something that you want to be a part of or if it's something that is negatively affecting your life. Luckily, unlike a normal cult, you can stop your membership anytime. But it raises an interesting question. If you're in a cult, but you're happy, fulfilled, and living a better life than you were before, is that so bad? Maybe we should make some t shirts, acai flavored Kool Aid, maybe. I really like it. And it's very thought provoking, right? Because you're like, okay, it has a negative connotation, but like if you're enjoying your life, enjoy your life. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I just kind of like for a while I was like because I got really into like philosophy and stuff when I was really young, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, nah, cults are bad. Everyone has to be independent, and if you
Yeah.
don't, you're a sheep or whatever. And then
Right,
like
right,
kind
right.
of now I'm like, okay, maybe it's like if is religion a cult? Is like are these other big groups, are they cults? Like if it's
Right.
strange and like if we have I put the definition because it kind of gives us like a jumping off point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's like if you're doing jujitsu and like maybe like because I go to some gyms and it's like everybody has to bow when they get on the mat, or like I go to some gyms everyone has to wear a white gi, or like I have friends who train at Carlson Gracie and they do this like weird handshake where they like interlock fingers, and it's like it's a little culty, but like is it a problem? And if everybody's having a good time and nobody's hurting anybody, I think it's fine, you know. Maybe I'm like being naive, but I feel like it's not that bad. Maybe there are
Yeah.
more serious problems that we can talk about within the community than like if bowing is bad or whatever.
Right. And I think to
Like
your
it's good for
point,
going viral, but it's like I honestly don't care.
it's also like there's a spectrum. Like to your point, it's like if I think it's awful, I don't need to go to that gym. But if that fits somebody else's personality and they're enjoying it, then great for them, right? But then there are maybe some gyms that take it too far where maybe it is actually hurting some people. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there are some gyms that take it too far, but then also too, it's like there are some gyms that just have no organization and no leadership, and people don't like that either, you know. So it's like good to have both.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, if anybody's listening, go buy it. I really enjoyed it. I'm still reading through it, but like so far, I'm maybe like a quarter of the way through, and I like that I can read as much or as little as I can in a day without feeling like if I read a regular book and the chapter's like 30 pages long, I'm like halfway asleep and then I forget where I was. I like that I can, just pick up and it's no big deal.
Well, like the night, for me, it's like when I read like a novel or something, it's like I'll read it, and then if I put it down for a couple weeks because I get busy, it's like I don't remember what happened. It's just
Exactly.
like there's
Yep.
no continuity. It's more of like just like
Yeah.
things you could read it over again if you want,
No,
like,
it's
or
very,
you could
very
flush it
true.
down the toilet. It's toilet reading. It's funny that Craig did that video on the
On the
toilet
toilet.
because it's like literally like I wrote it for bathroom reading, you know.
My first thought was, I hope he bought that. I hope you didn't give
He
it to
did.
him.
He did.
Okay.
It was funny because there's a friend of mine in Vegas. So Freddie, our media guy, he texted me like the day before they did the video, and he's like, "Hey
Uh,
man, ordered the book. It's not coming till tomorrow. Do you know anybody who has one in Vegas?" And I texted my friend, and he's like, "Yeah, I can help him. Give him a book." And then Freddie messaged him on WhatsApp, but my friend doesn't have WhatsApp notifications, so he never saw it, and they never. Then
oh,
the book came the next day, and Craig used his copy of the book for that video.
very nice. Good. I'm glad that he purchased it. I like to hear it. Very, very cool. Any writings in the foreseeable future? Anything new?
Yeah, so I partnered up with a guy from Georgia, and we did a business book for jujitsu. So it's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Cool.
And then I'll do my own kind of like I always have newsletters and stuff like this coming out. I'd like to do another book in the next like year or so probably, but it takes a while, like because the Grappler's Diary book was really easy to write because it was literally just kind of from the heart, the next one will be a little bit more. I don't even know if it'll be about jujitsu, but just like to do another one.
Will it be, did you say, do you prefer to write nonfiction?
I don't know, I've never done fiction. I mean, so when I first started writing, I wrote a draft of a novel in quarantine, like
Mm-hmm.
COVID quarantine, and it was like 60,000 words, and it's just trash. and I like the thought of reopening it just is like terrifying to me. But I would like to do a novel one day. Like the dream would be to have a novel that gets made into a movie.
I love that. And ironically, I feel like we all started, doing hobbies during quarantine. Me and my best friend started writing a children's book during quarantine that also I decided I hated and never came to fruition. Once COVID ended, I was like, this book sucks. Like, trash that. But it was like a fun passion project.
Yeah, yeah. I found it was one of those that like I just started doing it, and then the the quarantine ended, but I needed a job, and the only skills I had were jujitsu and then this novel that I had written. So I was like, I'm gonna call myself a writer, and I'm gonna try to make money doing this, and that's
I
kind of
like it. Like, I really like that you have, something like a passion outside of jujitsu that you're like constantly working towards. I think that's really cool. So if I ever meet you, you'll sign my copy.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I sign
Very,
them all at seminars. It's like
very
it
cool.
feels really silly because I'm like teaching people leg locks, and I'm like, oh yeah, I also wrote a book and I can sign it, I guess. But then also like I sign so many, then sometimes like my fiance comes with me to a lot of the seminars and she'll be
Yeah.
like doing the merch and she's like, "Oh, Chris can sign it if you want." And like
Oh,
most people are like, "Oh yeah, I'd love that." And then sometimes people are like, "Nah," and they just
it's like, damn.
leave. Which is like, cool, but it's just I'm like, I don't know how to hand this is not something I planned for when I was like
Right.
dreaming my career.
Oh man, but it's so freaking cool. That's really really awesome. So let's backtrack a little bit. So we talked about, a little bit about your jujitsu career, but how did you get started? Like what was your first experience with jujitsu?
Yeah, so most you wouldn't be able to tell this by watching me do jujitsu, but I wrestled in high school.
Hmm.
And I wasn't good. I didn't make it to state or anything, but I was like on the team. I was on the varsity team and I did okay, in Illinois.
Hmm.
But after I finished wrestling, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do like combat sports still. So I'm gonna do boxing. So I went to like a MMA gym that had boxing, and they were like, oh, you wrestled, you should do jujitsu. Like that's what you'll like. And I was like, I want to fight MMA, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I used to watch the UFC and like that was like around the time Conor McGregor was like first kind of popping off and like fighting for
Right.
the title and stuff. And so like the UFC was exploding and I started training like I was gonna fight MMA. So I did like a year where I was like grappling a little bit, wrestling a little bit, doing some striking, and then after about it, I started competing in jujitsu just to like get familiar with like combat sports competition because I hadn't competed since wrestling. And then I ended up going down. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the IBJJF Worlds one time just to experience
Hmm.
it. And then I got third, and I didn't even know the rules. And I was like, okay, maybe
Damn.
I could be good at jujitsu. And so then
Wow.
I was like, I'll put MMA on the back burner and then focus on jujitsu for a while. And then after like a couple of years of doing jujitsu, I was like, I'm never gonna get in a cage. Fuck that.
Wow. Why do you think you were just able to adapt so quickly? Do you think it was your wrestling background? Do you think you just had
Yeah.
a knack for it?
No, it was my wrestling background. I
100.
was not like not good at the beginning.
Gotcha.
But I was like, I was really stubborn. And so like if the coach said like you win if you stay on top, I would
You're
stay
like,
on top no matter what.
bet. Okay,
Like
cool. So,
I couldn't pass the guard. I remember I had a match with at Blue Belt World. This is Blue Belt Worlds 2016. We're going like way back in the archives here, but I had a match with
uh-huh.
Austin Arande, who's like he's still on the black belt circuit. He's quite good.
Hmm.
And he had a like very flexible guard, but I was like, my coach told me once if I stayed on top and it went to decision, they would give it probably to me unless like I almost got submitted. So I
Yeah.
just like stayed on top, ran around, double underpass, like threw legs over a few times, won by decision. And then like, I didn't know if I was gonna win or not, but I ended up winning and making I had like 3 or 4 matches like this where I just like bulldozed through people, like didn't do anything.
Crazy.
Who won that was like my Nicky Rod 2019 ADCC moment where like he got second at ADCC without knowing jujitsu. I got third
Uh-huh.
at the Blue Belt Worlds not knowing jujitsu. It was not the
That
same.
is so freaking cool. At what point do you feel like wrestling wasn't enough?
So it was like a year later. Like
A
I
year later.
started, I would go. Then I was like, okay, I got third in nogi, but I was like,
Hmm.
I don't want to just be someone who, because this was back when like everyone was doing both. So I was like, I don't just want to be someone who does uh
Hmm.
nogi. I want to be able to like podium at gi worlds too. And so
Yeah, yeah.
I really wanted a podium at I signed up for the pans and I lost first round. So I got third at nogi worlds and I was like, wow, I'm the shit. And then I went to nogi pans and the guy pulled guard right away. And then he like I couldn't pass, and he tied me up
Wow.
in like spider guard, and
Jeez.
I think I only lost by an advantage, but I was like, oh wow, I don't know anything. And so that was when I started actually learning jujitsu, was like around this time. And I ended up getting like pretty good. Like I started to podium at, yeah, I would podium at blue belt pans. I would win
Hmm.
all the opens, and I did all the opens for a long time. And that was kind of how I got like actually I learned jujitsu. And then eventually it was like, okay, guard is just easier than wrestling. It's like
Yeah.
I have wrestling in my back pocket if I need it.
Hmm.
And then it ended, I kind of stopped wrestling for a few years. And then when I was a purple belt, I won Nogi Worlds, and the plan was to do trials after this. So then we started wrestling again. Like, so it was like from
Gotcha.
2016 to 2020, I didn't wrestle. 2021, I didn't wrestle at all. And then I
Oh,
started.
wow.
So like
Wow.
I wasn't as good, but I'm okay at wrestling. Not like amazing, but I'm okay.
Yeah, but not everybody has, that base, that wrestling background. So it's nice to have in your back pocket for when you
The
need it
good
for
thing
sure.
about it was more just it taught me how to work hard and problem solve. That
There
was
you
like the
go.
most valuable thing. Like none of my best takedown was a fireman's carry, which doesn't
Hmm.
transition to translate to jujitsu at all.
Hmm.
Like my, knowing how to solve problems, knowing how to work hard, knowing how to compete, these things are
Yeah.
helpful.
Very cool. So you mentioned gi. When was the last time you trained in the gi?
I got my first degree on my black belt in April. So that was my last ski session. I enjoy the
Oh.
gi. I wish I did it more. It's just that like nobody else does it at the gym, so it's hard to do it.
Yeah, no, no, that makes sense. So at what point you were competing a lot? It sounds like it was like this natural progression of you just like upping your game, up in the competitions. But was there a pivotal moment where you were like, okay, I'm all in. I want this to be my career?
So I won purple belt Nogi Worlds in 2019, and that was like a big moment for me because I was like, okay, I can beat the best guys in the world. Like I would always get third or I'd make the quarterfinals, but I never would do like I would never win. And then
Mm-hmm.
that one I won, so I was like, okay, now I was like, I'm pretty good compared to her, at least at purple belt. So I think
Yeah.
that if I keep going, I can be good at black belt. And then when I did the trials in my first trials, I lost first round. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not so good. And then I did the next trials and I got fourth. And it was like there was
Mm-hmm.
like 200. I was unseeded and I had like 9 matches that weekend to get fourth. And I beat Cody and I beat Kieran and I lost to PJ and William Tackett, but just like by points. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, okay, I feel like and this I was training only with hobbyists. And so I was like, okay, I bet if I like eventually move and, make this like a full-time thing, I could probably do pretty well on like the world stage. And so that was kind of what led me to go to B team and then eventually to like now, you know, make a full-time living doing jiu-jitsu.
Very cool. Out of the B team guys, is there one of them that you gravitate more to as a training partner or kind of like as a mentor?
Not really. I think that we're more like friends. I don't feel like I have a like my mentor is my original coach, Jeff Serafin in Chicago. He's like, if I have a problem, that's who I go to for everything.
Okay, that makes sense. But I mean,
If
like when you first joined though.
I mean, like I always like to train with Nick Rod. I always like training with Ethan. I've never trained with Nicky Ryan still.
Oh, really?
Because when I first came down, obviously we talked about the ripping submissions thing, and Nicky Ryan's knees have a history.
Yeah.
So now I think like when he's full speed training again, I'm sure we will train quite a bit. But like
Yeah.
we've never trained together.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So wait, speaking of B team, I wanted to ask you before I forget. The new name, the Simple Man, obviously I understand they got it from the podcast. What are your thoughts on it? Do you like it?
I mean, it's not what I would have named the gym, but it's all good.
Yeah, I get why. I mean, it's kind of like another name that everybody just kind of knows who they are. So it's like an easy transition.
Yeah, it makes sense for them. It would be hard if they called it like the South Austin Jiu-Jitsu Academy. It'd be like, who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're calling it's good for branding, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, what sucks is like B Team was the best like branding. It's gonna be hard
It
to,
was, yeah. It's a shame
but
you couldn't keep it, honestly.
yeah, it was, though I wasn't involved in any of that. I just kind of show up and train and teach my classes, but there was like a
Yeah.
whole thing. But it is it's good. It'll be good for them, and I think they'll do well. And they're already changing some of the things that were kind of they wanted to change before. So it's like they're going to be adding a kids class. They're going to be
Cool.
adding they're going to have some new instructors. Like this kind of stuff will be happening. So it'll be good.
Yeah. I know when I had Jacob on, he was like, "Yeah, kind of have to rebrand if you want to like separate Craig's antics from
Yeah,
like coaching
yeah,
children." And I was like, "That actually makes sense to me."
yeah. I mean, I think that if they're gonna do this, they can't have criticism attached
Yeah.
to it. Well,
No, I get it for sure. I put a poll out maybe like a few days ago saying that I was going to have somebody from B Team on, and that was shockingly one of the most questions was about the name change. Like people feel very strongly about the name.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, I guess
I
it's just
like,
change.
I guess because maybe I'm not an owner, I'm like, it's okay. If I really, like, I just don't think it matters that
Yeah.
much. I mean, maybe it matters more for the business than it does for the like competition team.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, like you're showing up and doing your job, and like to you, you're like, I imagine it's like they can call whatever they want. You're still showing up, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to end. I usually end with like some hot takes. Do you have any hot takes, any unpopular opinions that have to do with the jujitsu world?
B
To
team
be,
one.
I don't even know if that's an unpopular opinion anymore. I'm very confused. It's like
That's
changing with
good.
the
That
day.
means it's a hot take, right?
That's a good one. Anything else?
Um, Trying to think. No, I mean, I think that most of my opinions, I don't get hated on for them. I think they're not, maybe they should be more unpopular. I don't know.
Nothing, nothing at all. All right. Well, let me give you one actually. How do you feel? I've asked this a million times, but I feel like it's good to get a lot of opinions. How do you feel, or how do you guys feel about people being late to class?
I don't care.
Don't care. Because
I
some
would
gyms
rather you
do.
get to class safely and not get in a car accident because you're worried about being late to jujitsu class than like, also too, it's like if you're being late because you are just lazy, you are going to like that's your fault and you will deal with
Yeah.
consequences. If you are late because something is happening, like there's traffic or whatever, that is like something out of your control, then like
Yeah.
you should not be like freaking out.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I've pretty much everybody I've had on agrees with you and I, but the comments are always they always surprise me. Some people feel very strongly about, being punished if you're late. And my take is like we're all adults, and especially if people are just hobbyists, it's like people have things going on. They have kids, they have work, they have traffic. Like, I rather show up than, not show up at all.
So like recently I did a post. This is another unpopular opinion. I did a post
Okay.
recently about like beautiful jujitsu academies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like so my coach, he just partnered with some guy and they built this gorgeous gym in Chicago. We go to my fiance trains at the East Austin Jiu Jitsu Parlor. It's right
Mm-hmm.
by where she works. And
Mm-hmm.
she likes to go there. And so it's beautiful. It's this like new gym that they have. And like I think these and then I got sent like a pretty gym in Brazil and there's like AOJ obviously. So like I think the
Mm-hmm.
pretty gyms are cool. And like if I have a gym, I want it to be like pretty.
Oh,
But like
okay.
when I posted this, like just like look at all these cool gyms, isn't this sick? People were like,
Yeah.
nah, that's elitist. Like jujitsu is supposed to be like gritty. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
So like I thought that there was just like an appreciation of cool
yeah.
architecture, but like people
Feel
really
strongly.
felt strongly and they were like personally attacked by the injection of aesthetics into the world of jujitsu.
Very interesting. And actually, weirdly enough, this conversation came up. I had Maya, who owns Alchemize, which is a clothing company for jiu-jitsu, on a few weeks ago, and she was talking about it from a woman's standpoint. Like she was just saying how she likes to create a gym environment or go to gym environments that are, nicer, cleaner, more, in her words, like women friendly. So my opinion is like there's a seat for every ass. Like some people like that gritty environment and some people don't. I think just find the gym that you like. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I wasn't expecting it to be polarizing though. I
Right.
didn't even say like that this is like how your gym has to be.
Yeah.
So I posted it on Twitter and I did say that. I was like, if your gym is not like this, you might go out of business to some gyms that are pretty. But then on Instagram, I was like, okay, people probably won't like that. So I was like,
Yeah.
gyms are becoming prettier. And that was all I said pretty much. And people got pissed.
I like how you censor yourself on Instagram. You're like, yeah, that's not for this crowd.
You have to be a little bit more
That won't work here.
professional, I guess.
Exactly.
Like LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's interesting as, I imagine as you get more and more popular, how, when you posted things in the past, you probably didn't have to, worry as much. Now I feel like you probably really question everything before you post it, considering, the environment.
I think that I do a good job of self-censoring because I used to post like some kind of like not raw, like not like ghetto kind of
Hmm.
jujitsu opinions, but they would just be
Hmm.
like less filtered for sure.
Gotcha.
Like just like I'd be like, if you're a blue belt and you're teaching class, you don't know what you're doing, or like just like stuff like this that like
Yeah.
maybe not be like, and but I also too like I'll separate the art from the artist. Like sometimes I'm like, I can go viral if I just say that like every jujitsu, like sometimes you have to word it in a way, like the art of writing a headline, like clickbait. It's only
Hmm.
clickbait if you like kind of let the reader down. So it's like you can write like a clickbait headline and
Hmm.
say some like outlandish stuff that is still kind of true. So it's like toting the line with like true. So this is like fun for me, like trying to find things that are like gonna start a conversation because when I just turn the comments off. I don't read them, like I see them sometimes, but I try not to read them because it generally doesn't, it never makes my day better.
Yeah, that's pretty true, honestly. I was gonna ask you, so you had mentioned somewhere I saw this that, and we kind of talked about it today a little bit, that you were kind of struggling for a little bit when you decided to be, a full-time jujitsu athlete. Like it took a little bit for you to get to a place where you were able to make enough money to sustain your lifestyle in a way that you didn't have to stress, I guess you could say. What was that turning point for you?
I mean the big part it was ADCC was the main thing. Like ADCC, I quit. So I was doing a ghostwriting corporate kind of job, like remote, but like so I was
Hmm.
able to train every day, but I was like working every minute I was not training.
Mm. Yeah.
And when I got into ADCC, I was like, okay, fuck this job. I don't want to do it anyway. So I just quit and I started just training for ADCC. And I was like, if I don't do well and I have to go back to like some sort of ghostwriting job or whatever, I will and it'll be
Yeah.
fine. And then I just ended up doing well at ADCC.
Very cool.
But while I was doing this, I've also always been like kind of like hustling and trying to do seminars. Like I market
Yeah.
I like my instructional. I think I name the name is very recognizable and like kind of I did a good job like with marketing
Yeah,
myself in
for
this way.
sure.
Um, and so that was like the big kind of thing. Like I used ADCC and then PGF. And PGF was a really good one. I think PGF was bigger. Like ADCC was huge for my confidence, but ADC or PGF was bigger for my career than ADCC.
Right.
Because PGF, I got so much footage of hitting leg locks. So it's like everybody wanted my leg lock instructional because I hit so many.
No,
Uh,
for
and
sure.
so like kind of marketing myself not just as a grappler, but like as a specific kind of grappler was really helpful for me.
Yeah,
And
and it's
like
oh, go
going
ahead.
into sorry, and then like after that, like there are pros and cons to that. Like I hit all these leg locks, I did really
Mhm.
well. The downside was like I was 20 pounds undersized for the division, so I wasn't gonna win. And so I kind of like wasted all this like leg lock footage on like this event, and I made like a lot of money at like in
Yeah.
instructionals from it, but I now I'm like paying the price a little bit of like everybody knows what I am, who I am. So like having to kind of rebrand a little bit now. But this is just part of
Yeah.
being an athlete.
No, you bring up such a good topic, like marketing and branding yourself. It's like you could be the greatest athlete, that nobody knows about, but unless you're branding and marketing yourself, you're never going to get to that next step. Like, how did you become so good at doing that? Is it just a knack you have? You just learned on the fly? Like, how'd you
Well,
get
I think I'm the
good at it?
only grappler who studies copywriting.
Oh,
I
okay.
guarantee you none
That's
of you
actually a good point. Yeah.
like I have like the boron letters sitting here on my bookshelf. Like I have like I because I did this for a job. So I was
Yeah,
like
right.
I ghost wrote Twitter threads for people and the
Hmm.
objective was only to go viral. So it's like what topics are
Wow.
going to go viral? It's like how can we re-engineer this on X topic or whatever? How could
Right.
we so it's like like I'll use like whenever the grappler diary blows up, it's like I'm using like a proven framework that I've stolen from a client that I was working with or that or
Wow.
have tested in like writing courses that I've invested in. So like using that in jujitsu, it's like it's kind of an unfair advantage because it's like nobody else is doing this. Everybody's just trying to, obviously I'm not going to compete with Craig, who's like just rage baiting people and doing whatever he wants. But like I'm able to,
Yeah.
build a name for myself as maybe a lesser known athlete.
Very, very cool. Any advice for those who aren't able to copyright to kind of get themselves out there and market? Any simple advice for them?
I think that like so as a grappler, even if you train like twice a day, you're only really an athlete for like 4 hours a day.
Hmm.
So that is not a full-time job. Even
Hmm.
if you're a full-time athlete, like that just means you don't have to do other stuff. So it's like, what are you doing in the say the 4 hours when you're not training? Say most like I work more than 9 hours, more than 8 hours a day, most
Yeah.
days. But like as a if you're like, what are you doing in the hours when you're not in the gym to kind of improve your brand? So you don't need to do like crazy stuff, but like like doing podcasts, doing
Yeah.
some sort of like doing social media, doing the stuff that is like maybe you don't want to do, is really important for building your name because you don't have to be like I don't have like a ton of major championships. Like I've done really well in a lot of competitions, but like I'm more known as like a instructor and like a technical guy. And like if I could never compete again tomorrow, I hope that not doesn't happen. But like if I could
Yeah.
never compete again, I would still be able to earn a living through jujitsu because like my brand is not predicated on me winning championships.
Yes. No, and that's very smart of you because knock on wood, but it's true. Like you just never know what happens. But you bring up such a great point. I think there are a lot of people out there that do view themselves as just athletes and they are athletes, but there's like so much time outside of the gym that's just almost, I guess you could say, wasted that they don't do anything with. So I think that's a smart outlook.
Well, like I remember I used to always go travel and train with guys and like we would go to practice and then like they would just go home and just like take a nap or like
Right.
sit on their phone and then I would just like go to a coffee shop and like work on my computer and I
Wow.
would like write a newsletter. But like maybe I'm like a little high motor, like ADHD a little bit. So like I'm gotta keep going, but like I find that like for me it was really easy to just like go work on. Also, I just have other
Yeah.
interests outside of jujitsu where it's like
Right.
I'll read a book that has nothing to do with jujitsu or I'll watch TV. Like people always hate on watching TV. It's like there's cool stuff. You can learn something on TV.
Yeah.
It's like it's not that bad to like get away from the sport. And I think this helps your focus.
Yeah, for sure. And you bring up watching TV. I think people would like to know, what does Chris Wojcik do outside of the gym? What are some of your hobbies? What don't we know about you?
I mean, so I like to read a lot. Like I read a lot. Like I have all my books back here, and then
Hmm.
there's more downstairs.
Dang.
And then me and I hang out with my fiance. We walk the dogs. I really like to travel. So like I kind of enjoy just like going to like I like doing seminars because I like going to different places and like experiencing different places and
Hmm.
going to the Philippines in October to do a seminar.
Very cool.
Stuff like that. Just travel, read, write.
Enjoy life.
Yeah, that's kind of it. I like to cook, I guess. Like,
Oh, okay. What's your go-to meal?
I mean, I like to make like a steak with like vegetables and pasta. This is like my favorite kind of easy. Like, if I had nothing, if I just had
Hmm.
to throw something together with what's in the fridge right now, it'd be like a steak with pasta and vegetables.
How do you cook your steak? What temperature?
We do like I sear it on both sides with like some garlic and some butter and maybe some rosemary if I go to the store, and then generally like 350 for like 5 or 6 minutes.
Like, is it rare, medium rare, well done?
Medium rare, medium rare.
Okay, okay. We can still keep talking. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not
As
a
long as
well.
you didn't say well done. I like turn the computer off.
Sorry, that's all right. That wouldn't be the first time.
Too cool. Anything coming up?
Not right now, just seminars right now. I dealt with like an arm injury during the CJI camp. So like I was kind of limited for about 7 weeks beforehand, like just overuse in my elbow. So like just trying to not use my elbow so it stops
Yeah,
being overused.
makes sense.
Doing like a lot of seminars. So like doing it's like Kansas, Virginia, Philippines, Chicago, Oregon,
Damn.
Washington.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That might be all of them. I don't know. And then me and my lady are doing wedding stuff too, like wedding planning and stuff like that. So it's
Nice.
nice. Like CJI is nice too, because like our wedding is now paid for. Like
Yeah, you're
stuff
like,
like this is like really nice.
that is
And then
really
just like getting
awesome.
back to training, and I would like to compete. Well, I don't know when this will come out, but I'd like to compete one more time before the year end, and then go into next year.
Awesome. And congratulations on getting married. When are you guys tying the knot?
Thank you. April.
Very, very nice. So how did Craig pay you guys? Was it a direct deposit?
It was, yeah,
For real? I was
yeah.
honestly thinking it. I was like, so does he roll out the cash like he did on Rogan? Like, what's going on here? So,
Oh no,
wow.
no, no. I just like I checked my phone and it was like, oh, there it is.
No way. Wow. I mean,
It was
that's
like a crazy
incredible.
amount of money to have hit your account.
That is incredible. I imagine there's gotta be like some taxes or something you gotta
Yeah,
prepare
yeah, yeah,
for.
for
But
sure.
still, to be able to pay your wedding off, like, awesome. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank
Awesome. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap things up? Anything you want to shout
you.
out?
Anybody who's listening, check out the newsletter, The Grappler's Diary on Substack.
Yes.
Comes out every Friday. It's totally free. Always will be. There is a paid tier if you'd like to read that. That comes out on Mondays, but totally free otherwise. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.